Hi kids, Stevie Coyle here at Mighty Fine Guitars. Thanks for tuning in to the Friday Noontime webcast, number something. As usual, any comments, questions, type them up there, and my own dear Valerie May will pass them along. Shigor, Mistress of the Machines, thank you very much. And just a couple of guitars today. I wanted to show you the new stuff that comes in. As I've mentioned before, I've got this ridiculous job where I kind of, curate some guitars. I put price tags on, I clean them up, I buff them up, I change the strings, I work on the website, I answer lots of email. And just while I'm sitting there doing these lovely, easy tasks, people walk in with fabulous guitars for me to sell. And I got two to show you today. One I picked up just last night. I haven't really looked at it, just gave it a quick spin, and holy smokes. And this one, this Martin CEO 7. Every year for the past number of years, the Martin Company out of Nazareth, Pennsylvania, has had a guitar designed essentially by the CEO, Christian Frederick Martin, the X, whoever it is at the time. This is the CEO 7, and I think this is from 2014 or 15. Like I say, these are both brand new. I really haven't done much research on them. Does it say right inside there, probably? No, it doesn't. CEO's Choice, the CEO 7. Shucks, I think it's 2014 to 2015. Lovely guitar, Adirondack top, lovely choice mahogany back and sides. It's almost kind of Gibson-y in shape. It's kind of ironic that Martin would do a Gibson-y looking kind of guitar. It kind of looks like an L-O body. It's 14 frets to the body, but it's short scale, so it's kind of cool. It's triple O in that respect, certainly. But a little more slope-shouldered than their typical triple O, so it looks kind of like a Gibson, frankly. Lovely guitar. It's really straightforward. It's got that honest and true sort of mahogany sort of sound. Just jumps right off the top. Not a whole lot of swirliness, not a whole lot of combinations and amplifications of particular overtones. Real straightforward guitar. Good blues guitar, I'd say. I did a little article for Acoustic Guitar magazine a few years ago on ostensible blues guitars. And the idea was, well, let's get a bunch of guitars in. I had stuff from Collings and Santa Cruz and Martin and Gibson and Lohr. Played all these guitars, and I guess part of the assignment was to see which one sounded bluesiest. And I didn't know what to make of that, except that we all have the perception that somehow the recordings we've heard of early blues guitarists and that iconic photograph of Robert Johnson with the cigarette and the suit and the hat and the Gibson long-bodied L1, that somehow that's what they all played, were Gibson guitars. Those old blues guys didn't play Gibson guitars for the most part. They couldn't afford them. They were expensive guitars. They played dime store guitars. They played Montgomery Ward and Sears guitars and Stellas and stuff. Much less expensive guitars. But I was pleased that that in that shootout, there were some that had that kind of old-timey sound, which is this real straightforward, not a lot of swirliness. The more modern guitar sound, I suppose you'd call it, involves, and actually the next guitar I'm going to show you is representative of that, where you get lots of big swirliness and reverberation and whatnot. This one is just real quick off the top, and like I say, probably a really good blues guitar all told. real good bluesy stuff. Straightforward, nothing too fancy. The notes jump off the top quick, and they don't hang around too long. They don't overstay their welcome, which I think is kind of what you want in a blues guitar. Something that's kind of quick and dirty, as they say. This one is $2,500. Really good deal, especially in a shop like this where things tend to hover well above $3,000. $2,500 for a Martin CEO 7 from 4 or 5 years ago. Lovely guitar. And this one just came in last night. A buddy of mine said, any chance you're coming through San Francisco? As it turns out, I was going through San Francisco. He said, hey, stop by and pick up a guitar. I want to sell it. Holy smokes, what a thing. Now, this is where I can kind of talk a little bit about guitars that get played sound better. I've got a little device here I use in the shop that called a tone right. I feel like Carol Merrill. Here's the tone right. And what it does is it sort of sits in the strings of the guitar. You kind of let it, these little rubber nubbins on the back here, you stick them in between the strings there and run this down close to the bridge. It just perches there. It's real soft rubber. It's not going to hurt anything. You plug it in, and it's got a little rheostat on it that lets you crank up or crank down the vibration of the thing. And it essentially plays the guitar while you can't. Now, there's something about playing a guitar that makes it better, for the most part, solid wood guitars. And I'm not sure the science is completely in on it. Some of it has to do with age, of course, and the wood's drying out, and the glue's drying out as best they can, which is why people like to use hide glue, because it really dries hard. Some of the other glues never really dry hard and become crystalline in structure. So the thought is that sometimes vibration doesn't pass through that kind of glue very well. Guitars made with hide glue and solid wood guitars sound better as they age, not just because of the age, but because of them getting played. This shop, perhaps you can see the lovely green color of the shop here. It was painted by an old college pal of mine, dear pal, that had the place painted in no time at all. It was really kind of spooky. And back in college, he had these magnaplanar speakers, stereo speakers, and a giant stereo speaker system. Magnaplanar speakers are about 6 feet tall, as I recall, probably this wide, 1.5 feet wide, and just a couple of inches deep. A big kind of ribbon inside there, apparently, generating the tones. I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but they sounded great. And we in college, we guitarists, there were only a few of us there at the University of Santa Clara, we used to pay him. Jim Esposito, are you online right now? We used to pay him in 6-packs of really bad beer, Lucky beer, the stuff that had the little rebus inside, the little puzzle inside. Terrible beer, awful stuff. We used to pay him 6-packs of that to hang our guitars off of kind of twisted up coat hangers in front of those big speakers, because when he wasn't in class, which was a lot for all of us, he was listening to music real loud. So the vibration of his magnaplanar speakers against the back of the guitar, we thought, would help our guitar get played in. And there's this thing, when you play a zillion guitars, you can kind of feel the ones that have been played in and the ones that, despite their age, maybe were not so played in. So we thought, well, this is kind of pseudoscience, but it's fun, and it seems to work. We think it makes our guitars sound better. Well, in recent years, there's a gentleman over in Marin County, Larry Craig, who every time I had repairs done would say, I fixed the thing you asked me to fix, but I also gave you an hour of the treatment. Was the treatment, is that what he called it? I think it was. And I say, what's that? And he said, can't tell you, but your guitar will sound better. And sure enough, I think it did. And the word on the street is he's got some sort of vibrational system, perhaps a giant speaker inside of a freezer cabinet or something. You put the guitar and vibrate the daylights out of it. Vibration does make the guitar sound better. Well, the reason I point out all of that is because this guitar has been played a ton. A professional musician in San Francisco for years and years, great player, blues guy, fantastic player. This guitar has been played in. It's in great shape, but you can feel that huge. Just everything has opened up. It's done what it's going to do. It has arrived. Think about newer guitars. People say, well, why would I buy a used guitar when I can get a new one? The used guitars sound like they're going to sound. Newer guitars have some settling in to do. They need to get played in. They need some vibration. They need some time. They need some heat and humidity. They need all of that stuff that changes the character of the sound of the guitar. This guitar has arrived, and it's great. Really bright, but really deep. Rosewood guitar, no surprise. This is a Collings. I haven't even told you what it is yet. It's Collings, company out of Texas near Austin. This is their SJ Small Jumbo. Fantastic thing. Indian rosewood back and sides, and I think that's a Sitka top. But boy, oh boy. Huge. And you can tell it's a blues guy because the frets up here are more worn than the frets down here. For most of us folkies, typically this third fret of the second string, what I would call 23, second string, third fret, 2, 3, 23. Usually that gets worn out. This is all up here that there's a little bit of fret wear, but it's not much. Really light touch, which is enviable, because that's the one note I can give anybody, as advanced as any player I work with is, and it's a note I give myself all the time as well. On the left hand, you probably don't need as much pressure as you're holding in your left hand. Great setup, great action, real easy to play. Long scale, 14 frets. It strums great, but it also picks great. Really great articulation. It does everything, and it's real loud, which is kind of fun to have a really loud guitar, because then if you need the power, you need the volume, you've got it, and if you don't, you can kind of back up, and it's still going to sound great. It activates at a lower threshold. Does that make any sense? Some guitars, you really got to smack them to get them to do what they're going to do. And I encourage folks in here, a lot of folks come in, and because they're all lovely, expensive guitars, folks tend to be overly respectful of them. And just sort of playing. I said, well, you can go ahead and play it. Because guitars, every guitar has a threshold, excuse me, above which it really activates, and below which it kind of sounds like every other guitar. So when you're trying out guitars in the shop, be careful if you're using a flat pick, be super careful. Always ask if you're going to use a flat pick in a shop, you know. But if you're just going to play it with your fingers, go ahead and give it a good old pluck so you can hear what it does. You can tell this one's been played and loved a ton. It has arrived. Oh, lovely. Hit that low string, I can feel my lungs rattling. It's just the back of the guitar is vibrating my chest. Driving the microphone. We have a question in the back, yes?
Somebody asked, is that a jumbo size?
Small jumbo, they call it. A small jumbo, a little narrower through the waist. So it sits lower on your lap. A little more comfortable to play, but yeah, a small jumbo. Fraction of an inch difference from a jumbo. And just for fun, Let us know where you're webbing in from. That's always interesting to see how far and how near folks are to Mighty Fine Guitars, which is in Lafayette, California. This is in the East San Francisco Bay. As the crow flies, I think we're just 12 miles due east of San Francisco practically. But it takes you a while to get there because of, the way the highways go and the hills are and all that stuff. But we're right between Orinda and Walnut Creek, and Moraga is right nearby, and we really do have a Tri-Cities area here. You always hear the Tri-Cities area. Well, we have them. There's Lafayette, Moraga, and Orinda. La Morinda is the name of the neighborhood here. And I'm right on, just to tout the shop a little bit, I'm right here on Restaurant Row. There's all kinds of great restaurants right nearby. So if you want to come to have a visit, spend a couple of hours here in the shop, play, see if anything jumps up and bites you in the butt and says, take me home. Which is the way to shop for a guitar, especially in this shop, is to see if anyone talks to you. And on the other side of that, you could have a lovely lunch or a lovely dinner here in town. I'm right on the BART line. It's like a 7-minute walk from BART to my shop. And things could be a lot tougher. So stop on by Mighty Fine Guitars, mightyfineguitars.com online. Oh, yes, a question over here.
Do you want to say what BART is for your international?
Oh, thank you. For the international friends, good point. BART is Bay Area Rapid Transit. It's the rapid transit. It's the train that kind of runs from San Francisco east and south. Not to Marin, though. Sorry, Marin. You're on your own. But running east and south of the Bay Area Rapid Transit system. And so it's a really quick hop from the BART station to my shop here. And on the way are tons of great restaurants. What's not to like? Too, a narrow fingerboard, well, narrow by my lights. 1 11/16 across the nut instead of 1 3/4. So a little narrower than I'm accustomed to, but still totally comfortable. And the setup, whoever did the setup on this is really great. And we don't even have a price on this yet. I haven't even talked to the fellow about what kind of number we're going to put on the tag. But by all means, if you're in the neighborhood, stop on in. I also do Skype and FaceTime auditions, as it were. If there's anything in the shop, anything online, you want to see anything I've ever played on the shows before, on the webcast before, that's still in the shop, hit me up. It's easy as pie to do Skype and FaceTime these days. Get a little more vibe on the thing, get a little closer up view of it. And that's kind of a great way to shop from your armchair. And it's kind of what the shop is all about. This is the digital age, so get digital, you aged types. It's been played. It's been played a ton, and it's still in great shape. And it's kind of a little rock star in the shop here. I'm really glad I went by this fellow's house last night and picked up this lovely Collings SJ. Don't even know the year on it. I'll have to find that out too, as well as what kind of number we're going to put on the price tag. Yes, a question.
Andrew Freeman says Frank Ford did the setup.
Oh.
And installed the Highlander.
Very good. We've just found out that the guitar was set up by Frank Ford. No surprise, down at Griffin, and there's a Highlander pickup in here as well. Yes, there is. Right there. It's a great pickup. Really acoustic sounding. Lovely guitar. I'm just going to leave it at that. So we had two guitars today. We had a Collings SJ. We had the Martin CEO 7. And there's the tone right there. These things really kind of do work. They buzz. So it's nothing you probably want to have hanging around the office during the day, but at night, when you've closed up the spare bedroom or wherever you keep the guitars, fire up your old tone and let it work on your guitar overnight. It really does work. I was a bit skeptical of my own perception of it from back in college days, having vibration work on your guitar when you're not there. But Eric Schoenberg was a big fan, and we had a long discussion about this, and he said, yeah, I really believe it, that there's something about him, and he's got a stack of them over at his shop as well, working on the guitars at night when they're all locked up. So Martin CEO 7, SJ from Collings, and I think that's it. Is there any other questions or comments? We're good? Very good. Thanks for tuning in yet again to the Friday Noontime webcast from Mighty Fine Guitars in Lafayette, California. So long, kids.